Hello everybody, this is Colby Wood with the Medical Sales Certification Program, and what we're going to be talking about in this lesson is, can you get a job in medical sales without sales experience? And I wanted this to be one of the first videos that you see in this program, I think primarily because it's such a fundamental question that I get asked all the time. It's almost the first question that people ask is, well, I'd like to get a job in medical sales, but can I even get a job if I don't have sales experience? So that's what I want to talk through with you here today, and explain to you that the answer is yes, but that's not a good enough answer. We need to unpack that a little bit so that we can talk through, well, how do you actually get that job? Or what would you need to do to be able to demonstrate why you should get the job even though you don't have sales experience, all right? So let's get into it. Can you get a job in medical sales? The first thing I would say, number one, let me erase this. The first thing I would tell you right off the bat is that every single day people are getting jobs in medical sales that don't have sales experience. So first and foremost, number one is people are getting hired every day. Every day without sales experience. Okay. That's, I think, first and foremost, that's important to know. You think about all the kids that are coming out of college. Where do they go? They go right to sales jobs if they don't have a real clear track on what they're going to do. So you know already that people are getting jobs in sales roles without sales experience. And while we do have somewhat of a unique industry in that we're not like a lot of the other sales jobs that are out there because there's such a key clinical component to it, we're still in a sales role. And so there are entry-level positions all over the place for people that don't have sales experience. And I know, when I was coming out, virtually every job posting that I saw, it said, well, we want 3 to 5 years work experience. Well, that's impossible, right? How do I get a job if I don't have the experience when every single job posting that I see says I need 3 to 5 years work experience? Well, let's talk through that. What does that actually mean? Because when it really comes down to it, those people that are getting the jobs right now, what are they doing that's different? Or how are they getting that job without sales experience? And what I would say is they've communicated to whoever's hiring them, they've made it clear that they want to be in sales, that they are not pursuing another job. This is not a stepping stone for them, okay? They want to be able to control their income. They know that when you're in a sales role, in a commission role, you can control how much you make. You can also, that you hear the term eat what you kill. That's really what this job is all about, and it's a numbers game. And you've got to be not only okay with that, but you have to thrive in that environment. You got to be able to communicate that that's the way that you operate, okay? They've found a way to communicate or convince that hiring manager that they are committed to becoming great at medical sales, at sales in general, but specifically medical sales. Because if you don't have work experience that I can draw from, or people that I can call to get a referral from you that, oh, this person, yeah, they know what they're doing. All I can go off of is how, when you're in front of me, how do you come off to me? Do I really get the sense that you are committed to making this your career, that you're committed to becoming great in sales? Because that's ultimately what I'm trying to identify. And that's what the people that are getting the jobs without medical sales experience, that's what they're able to do. They're able to, they've convinced whoever the hiring manager is. It could just be a territory manager that they talked with and they got the role, but whoever's hiring them, they convinced we'll just call it a hiring manager for this sake, that they are sales focused, that they understand eat what you kill. Eat what you kill. We'll just write it that way, right? And they've probably also put in a financial commitment of some sort, one sort or another. I'm gonna financial commitment. And what I would say by financial commitment, what I mean there is, if you've traveled a long way to go interview, there's obviously a certain level of commitment you have to go pull the trigger. It could be you've read sales books. So maybe you've got a list of 5 or 10 sales books that you've read that's really kind of brought you up to speed on the basics of selling. Or maybe it's you took a couple of courses, online courses, or maybe you went to some training classes, things like that. How can you communicate that you have invested in your sales career? That's what I think these people are doing each and every day. Okay, here's my eraser. Let's go to the second point that I wanted to make. So understand that there are people getting jobs every single day in medical sales that don't have a background in sales. They don't have sales experience. What I would say, the second point that's important to know is I would rather take somebody with clinical knowledge over somebody that has sales experience. So, sales experience. And what that really means is if I've got to choose between one or the other, so you've got kind of the clinical side of things, you got the sales side of things. If I have to choose right now, and the way that we run things in our company, is that I would rather take somebody that has the clinical knowledge and teach them the sales side of things, more so than taking somebody who has the sales knowledge and teaching them the clinical side of things. Just in my experience, it's more difficult to teach somebody anatomy, medical terminology, physiology, understanding products and procedures and techniques. It's more difficult to teach that than it is to teach the sales side of things. And that's my experience. And so that's why I would rather take somebody that has some clinical knowledge. So if you're somebody that has clinical knowledge, maybe you took anatomy courses in college, or maybe you are in the medical field, but you'd like to go into medical sales or get into that side of things, I think you're a prime candidate because you've already got half of the, well, I'd say probably more than that, but if we're gonna split it down the middle, you've got the clinical side of the business down. And what I would argue that probably the more important one to have, at least early on, because you're gonna understand the clinical side of things. In my experience, it's just a lot harder to teach that. It takes a lot more time, a lot more effort to teach those things. Whereas teaching the selling side of things and the business development side of things, I think you can pick that up along the way. And it's not as core or fundamental, especially early on. Because as a new rep, when you come into a role as an associate sales rep, you're not really out selling that much. A lot of your job early on is to support business that's already there. So you're going to cover surgical cases, or you're running equipment, or you're meeting to do in-services and things like that. So much of that job early on is heavily focused on the clinical side of things that I'd rather take somebody that has that already. Give me 8 months, 12 months for them to develop the sales and the business development side of things before we actually put them in the field trying to sell products and move products and move the business, before I give them a quota. I'd take that over somebody that has the selling side of things down, but it's gonna take them 12 months before they're really comfortable being in the operating room by themselves, right? So that's kind of the idea behind there. The third step, so if you've got the clinical side of things, I think you've got a leg up. You've got to be able to tell that story though to the person that's hiring you. Right, that's my experience. That's the way I see things. It doesn't mean that whoever you interview with is going to think the same way. So what you've got to do is communicate to them why having a clinical background is going to be more beneficial for them in the early stages, and that you're going to pick up the other side of things. Right. We'll just keep it on here. For the third point. Do you truly want to be in sales? And I don't ask this question kind of offhand for no reason. I don't trying to make this an irrelevant point. What I really mean here is there's a lot of people that want to make the income that a sales representative makes. There's a lot of people that want the freedom and the autonomy over their day. There's a lot of people that don't want to be stuck in an office every day. But that does not mean they really want to be in sales, okay? And there's other roles that you could do working for medical device manufacturers other than selling. But when we're talking about selling, there is a difference in our industry versus some of the other sales jobs that are out there because you have such a heavy clinical side of things. But when it comes down to it, everything in our job is how do you perform? How are you against your quota? That's everything. And you may know everything you need to know on the clinical side of things, and that's great. If you don't hit your numbers, if you don't hit your quota, nobody wins, and you're gonna lose, and you're gonna get pushed out. So when I say, do you truly wanna be in sales? What I really mean by that is, when I'm interviewing somebody, I can tell the people that actually want to be in sales. Where when they've got a quota, when they are driven financially to hit certain numbers, certain goals and targets, I can tell when that person is being authentic, that they truly want to be in sales versus somebody that's like, kind of, and they're probably just telling me they want to be in sales, but they haven't fully committed to it. Okay, so that's why I would ask you, do you truly want to be in sales? Because if you're on the fence about it, that's going to come through when you're talking to people. You're not going to be confident. You're not going to be able to give off the impression that, yeah, this is exactly what I want to do. I'm going to get great at it. I understand I don't have the experience thus far. I'm just looking for an opportunity to prove that I can pick this up quickly and that I'm going to perform, right? That's what you've got to be able to communicate. And if you are not truly, if you don't truly want to be in sales, that regardless of the words you say, it's going to come across that's inauthentic, okay? So let me clean this up. Let's go to the fourth point, number 4. What I would ask you is, how can you show you're committed? So how can you show you're committed to this job, to this role, to medical sales, to sales in general? So let's say you don't have sales experience. How do I show tangibly that I am committed? You know, I talked about it a little bit thus far. Some of the things is, I think first and foremost, travel, right? And what I mean by that is, where is this interview? If it's across the country and you got on a plane to fly across the country to meet with somebody and interview, that says a lot. I know that you're financially committed. And I know that you're willing to put in the time and the effort to come visit me. Like that says a lot. It doesn't mean you're going to get the job, but it says a lot. So how else can you show you're committed? What work have you done ahead of time? Work on your own, let's say. And what I mean by this are books, seminars, courses, etc., right? Things like that. What if you're able to walk into a meeting and say, yeah, I don't have sales experience, but I've read all these books. Let me tell you what I learned from all these, and let me show you why the fact that I put in the time up front, how that's going to help me advance more quickly, right? I already have the basics down. I understand I haven't done it yet, but I know what I'm doing. Or you walk in and say, I've invested in this course, like we have the medical sales certification program. What if you're able to walk into an interview and they say, well, you don't have any sales experience. And you say, yeah, I understand that, but let me show you what I do have. I invested real dollars in this online course to teach me everything I need to know about the sales side of medical sales. I already know more than the majority of people that are coming in. Even if you're trying to hire somebody that has 1 or 2 years of sales experience, they don't have sales experience necessarily in medical sales. And while I haven't done it personally, I've been taught by somebody that has, right? What about that type of a commitment? You think that that's going to go a long way? It certainly could, right? It certainly could. those are the type of things where I think you want to be able to show them tangibly that you're committed to the role. That, yeah, I don't have the sales experience. I haven't been in sales. I haven't been doing those things, but I can show you because of this 1, 2, 3, 4 things that I am truly committed. Okay. The last topic here that I wanted to walk through with you is number five, and this is, are you pursuing these opportunities? Are you pursuing opportunities the same way you would sell? And let me tell you what I mean by that. Okay, I met with a girl that I know that I'm friends with. She's in the medical industry right now. She's in the medical field, but she's not in medical sales. And so she's a little bit tired of what she's currently in, but she wants to stay in the medical field and she wants to get into medical sales. So she bought me a coffee at Starbucks, and we had kind of been trying to plan it for a while and a number of months, and we never got around to it. And finally we sat down together, and she's talking me through all these things that she's been doing. She's like, yeah, what I found out after talking to her is that she had really only applied to one job. So she had sent her resume out, maybe a couple of resumes at most, but she only had one prospect, let's say, one job opportunity that she had developed thus far. And so she's putting all of her eggs in one basket, right? And so what I would ask you is, if you don't have sales experience, and so you think that you're maybe not the most ideal candidate that's out there, well, then what I would tell you is you can't pursue getting a job in medical sales like you would pursue, you have to pursue getting a job in medical sales the same way you would go sell any product that's out there. And how would you do that? You go call on every single person that you can call on. Right? You need a wide pipeline. You need to fill up the top of your funnel. The first step of our sales process that we talk about is the cold call. You go out and prospect. And you can't have one prospect and think that you're going to get one sale. Your close rate is never 100%, right? So if you want to get one job, right? If you want to get your one job, I would say shoot for 20 job opportunities. Because if you shoot for 20 job opportunities, there's a pretty good chance you're going to be able to find one that's going to take a chance on you. But so many people, they're like, oh, I got this one opportunity and that's the only work I'm going to do. Here's the problem. You don't understand sales. If I'm the hiring manager and you're coming to me saying I don't have sales experience, but I want to get a job and I'm committed and da-da-da, and I ask, all right, what other opportunities are you looking at? And you say, this is my only one. Well, I'm immediately going to say, well, if I were to hire you, I can't have you going into the field thinking that you're going to call on one person and that's going to be it and you're going to make a sale. You're going to call on 20 people just to get a meeting or two to then try to push it forward, right? You're going to need way more than 20 in the real world. But I'm just saying, as a target you should shoot for, if you're trying to get a job and you're not the ideal target, you're probably going to have to go through a lot of opportunities out there. You're going to have to meet with a lot of hiring managers. You're going to have to do a lot of interviews to find that person, that job where you're going to get, where they're going to give you a chance. And so you've got to approach it the same way that you would sell. So are you pursuing the sales opportunity the same way you would sell? Open up your job opportunities. Go look for more opportunities. Put your name out there. Go contact more people. Stop trying to focus on one opportunity and think that that's your one golden egg. That's not the right way to approach it. And it certainly, as a hiring manager, I'm going to look at you and say, well, you don't really understand selling. Okay. And let me give you two stories of mine, and it's kind of pertaining to this, but in a little bit different way, in the same way that you would sell. and it has to do with follow-up, okay? There was a girl that I hired about a year and a half ago, and I remember I had a phone call or a phone interview with her first and foremost, and it was early summer, let's say April, right? So I guess springtime. And we had a phone call, and I wasn't candidly that impressed with her on the phone. Like, she was okay, she was, right out of college, so I got to cut her a little bit of slack because she's still trying to find her way, and it'd be her first job out of college. And I remember my first job out of college, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I'm just out there, figuring it out as I go. So I'm trying to sift through some of that in the phone call. So I end the phone call with her. I'm not that crazy about her. But over the coming months, I should say, the next probably 3 or 4 months, she was incredible at follow-up. Like, every 2 weeks, she would contact me, regardless. And I'm telling you, one of the tactics that I use is I won't call people back. I won't follow up with people when they candidates, I should say. I won't follow up with them, even when I tell them I do. And it's not because I'm trying to be a prick. I'm trying to find out what their follow-up skills are like. And this girl, every week or every 2 weeks, she followed up with me, even when I wouldn't respond to her. She'd shoot me an email, or she'd shoot me a text, or whatever it was. Maybe it was a phone call, and I wouldn't respond. And a week later or 2 weeks later, she'd follow up and say, hey, totally understand you're busy. I don't know if you saw the last one. Just wanted to keep in touch. Let me know if anything changes, right? For like 3 months straight. Finally, when we were ready to pull the trigger and hire, she was at the top of my list. And it's not because I was so impressed with her the first phone call that I had with her. It's because she followed up with me, okay? And then I contrast that one with, it was probably 8 months ago. I think it was the end of 2017, somewhere around there. We were hiring for another position, and I had been in contact with 3 or 4 potential candidates. And I remember one of the candidates that I had a really good phone interview with right off the bat. He was already in sales, so he was selling. I don't remember exactly what he was selling, but it totally unrelated to the medical field. But he had sales experience. He was a former athlete. So he and I kind of kicked it off right away pretty well. Anyway, I told him, I'm like, hey, I'm going to be out of town this next week. I'll follow up with you the following week to figure out how to move the process forward. He's like, great, cool. So me trying to identify and really test, is this person going to be a great hire? I don't call him back. I don't reach out to him. And from the time that I talked to him, I told him a week later I would get in touch with him at some point. He doesn't reach out to me till 3 weeks later. And he does so in kind of a smart ass way of like, hey, I thought you were supposed to follow up with me. I don't know what's going on. Are we still going to be able to make this happen? I'm like, yeah, I apologize, got busy. Let's find a time to make it work. Again, I go dark on him. Why? Because I'm trying to find out what his real world follow-up skills look like. Another 4 weeks go by. So it was like 2 months since the first phone call, and he emails me back, and he's like, hey, sorry, I was really excited about this position, but based on your lack of communication, I don't think this is the right job for me, so I'm going to have to decline this opportunity. So he actually backed out of the opportunity. And from my perspective, I'm like, well, that's great. Thank you for making it clear that you were not the right person for the job, right? And so that was a real world example of where I'm testing to find out what this person's follow-up skills are like, because how do I know, right? Even though they have sales experience, this guy clearly is not either in a job where follow-up is that important, or he's just probably not that good at it because he's not following up with me. And so that's one way where I was able to test and find out, like, he clearly was not a guy we were going to hire, but he backed himself out of it, and it honestly cracked me up because he was like, I was really excited about this opportunity, but because you're not communicating with me, I'm going to back out. It doesn't feel good. I'm like, thanks, because it would have been a good opportunity either way. So anyway, that I digress there. That was kind of a funny experience that I had. So anyway, I hope that gives you a better understanding of I guess first and foremost, can you get a job in medical sales without sales experience? The answer is yes, it happens all the time. But there's a but on the end of that. And that but is, how are you going to show that you're committed to sales? How are you going to show and prove that you take personal commitment for becoming great at it, and you approach getting your job in medical sales the same way you would approach actually selling, okay? So there are a couple things that you need to think about and make sure that you're doing if you're trying to get a job without sales experience, all right? So I hope this was helpful for you, and I will see you on the next lesson.